And then I knew that we're reaching their hearts, because he didn't say, I'm not going to have sex because I don't want to get HIV.
Right.
And so that's the heart of our message to young people. And I've had a young man come to me and say, I've learned so much from my father. And I said, well, you know, what did you learn from him? Because I know that his father's a drunk who threw him out of the house. He said, I'm not going to be like him.
Yeah.
And he's one of our young youth leaders today who's a role model to other young men. So those are what I would say are success stories, when we see girls saying, I'm more valuable than that.
You know, when my wife and I started Vision Led 10 years ago, we met with a lot of NGOs, a lot of government officials, UN and the World Bank people, and in the formative stages it was important to meet with these people. But again and again they would look at me askance at some point in the conversation because I would dare to use the word behavior change.
Yes.
And they would say, directly or indirectly, you naive preacher, do you not understand that people do not change their behavior? Well, now, even the language of the NGOs and the governments is including behavior change. And this is what you're talking about.
Yes.
But it's from, and there's genius in what you've just said, because the change is coming not from a negative, I don't want to get HIV.
That's right.
It's I want to be a man of honor.
I want to be a man of character, a man of honor.
Jim, we taught used to wait at in Kampala at Makerere
In
University.
Uganda.
Yeah.
Right.
And there were about 3 kids who came the Monday morning when we started the program, because it takes about a week to teach this biblically based sexual purity program based on Genesis 1, 2, and 3, 1 Corinthians 13. And they were all walking around there with T-shirts on that says, I'm abstinent, I'm abstinent. And so I said to them, why are you abstinent? And they said, oh, I'm not going to get HIV and AIDS, so I'm just abstinent. I said, do you think that's the right reason? And they said, what other reason? I said, okay, let's wait. Let's see what happens by Friday. Friday, we had over 300 kids. We put a marquee tent outside with speakers. Nobody could see Sylvia teaching, but there were 300 kids sitting there glued to what she had to say. And every single one of those kids who had a T-shirt on, I'm abstinent, came to me and said to me, now I know why I'm abstinent. Not because I'm afraid for getting HIV and AIDS, but because I'm created in the image of God. And therefore, if I do have sex before marriage, I'm sinning against God. Just like Joseph said.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I can sleep with you, it's easy, but I will sin against my God.
Yeah, he said, how can I do this thing and sin against God?
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, what a brilliant comment that was.
Jim, that is what we see in young people all over Africa, coming to the place where they realize that because I am created in the image of the living God, because you are created in the image of the living God, we both have value because Jesus died for us. And because both of us comes from sex, sex is valuable. And so, you know, to be able to get that message across to young people is just so important.
Well, this is very encouraging. You know, I've been saying for 10 years, and I believe it's true, that the 21st century is going to be Africa's century. I believe the Lord is going to bless the world out of Africa. Because there's a whole world out there that is in desperate need of a proactive solution to the HIV/AIDS crisis. I mean, I'm thinking about India right now. The issue in India is major. It is a time bomb. It's hidden effectively right now because they got 1 billion plus people. But there may be more people in India infected with HIV and AIDS than all the rest of the world put together. However, having said that, to hear you talk about these young people who are seeing their life as a life that is worth living, with a future, a hope and a future, going to live honorable, characterful lives, godly lives, to be men and women of honor. I mean, this speaks more to the future of Africa than any economic plan or anything else.
Jim, unless we're going to bring about a generation of change, there's not going to be any economics. No. I mean, you know, when you look at the lifespan of people at the moment, you know, 2 years, 3 years ago, the Minister of Education in Namibia said in Parliament, more teachers in Namibia are dying of HIV and AIDS than graduate from university institutions. So what do we have? We have an illiterate generation of young people so even though, you know, they can have all the money in the world, if they don't have the knowledge in how to use that money, there's no point.
Yeah.
You know, with the whole thing that is going on of fraud and nepotism and all those kind of things that we see rife all over the world, not just in Africa. But if we're not going to help young people to change that kind of mindset, we're not going to be anywhere. And therefore, we need to go back to the church, because it's the church who's the salt and the light.
Well, absolutely. The church is the key player. There's no question about it. We got about 2 minutes left. Tell me about Christ Hope International. You've just moved to Germany. Why have you done that?
As International Director of Christ Hope, I was asked by the International Board of Trustees to move to Germany, to just be more centrally located, to travel both to, you know, our partners in the West, but then also to travel from there to Africa.
Right.
So Sylvia and I are on our way to an East African trip in the middle of July, where we're actually bringing a group of people from North America with us, where they're going to see what we do, and also hopefully will come back to the States and start teaching this through their local church, you know, in Bible study groups, small groups. So just amazing what God is doing.
Well, yeah,
We
and
stand in awe.
I'm sure the Lord has got his hand on your ministry, because his heart is for orphans and widows, vulnerable children. Jos and Sylvia Holtshausen, the names of my guests. Christ Hope International. If you want to log on to their website, it's christhope.org. Pretty easy. CHRISTSOPE. Christhope.org. Find out more about this ministry. Thanks for coming our way.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Jim.